This 39 Dunedin News Bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on 39 Dunedin News, a redevelopment at Dunedin Hospital could get underway as soon as July if the green light is given at a national level. Two groups join forces to permanently preserve content and create a legacy that will last for generations. And O-Week noise complaints reach the highest ever recorded, posing a new challenge for the DCC. Good evening, Dunedin. I'm Rebecca Dupree. A major upgrade of critical care facilities at Dunedin Hospital is waiting in the wings. Staff are expecting the planned redevelopment to be approved for funding on a national level, and changes could begin as soon as July.
Waiting for the go-ahead. Top SDHB staff have been planning an $11 million overhaul of the intensive care unit at Dunedin Hospital. Now they're waiting on the government to approve the project as part of a wider portfolio of work.
They're supporting us with redeveloping our gastroenterology service as well as our audiology service as well as our ICU and HDU. So we're pretty excited about that, and we're full steam ahead on those programs of work. In particular, we're waiting now on confirmation of that funding for the ICU.
If the upgrade's signed off, it'll mean a new purpose-built critical care facility on the hospital's 5th floor. Construction of the first half is set to start in October. That'll see several departments and services shifted around the hospital to compensate.
I don't think we should underestimate that there will be noise impacts. There will certainly be perhaps detours or changed signage or information on people's appointment cards that are changed to what they might be used to.
Neurosurgery, ears, nose and throat, neurology and ophthalmology will relocate to the 3rd floor along with orthopaedics. That's scheduled to happen at the start of July. Other 5th floor services will be moved as required throughout the project, which will bring the ageing ICU up to the top standard.
The current intensive care unit is at the sharp end of the hospital service. You know, it's the highest level of medicine practice in the hospital, so it has to be very good. But it really hasn't changed since the late 70s, early 80s.
The new and improved ICU is expected to be up and running by the end of next year or in early 2018. It'll allow more space and privacy for patients and their families and a more efficient and modern working environment for an increased number of staff. Rosie Mannins, 39 Dunedin News.
An almost 100-year-old memorial arch is to be demolished. The Moller Park Monument in Ravensbourne honours long-serving former Mayor, Councillor and Harbour Board member Hagbarth Ernest Moller. Today, the City Council's Community and Environment Committee voted to have the arch demolished. A new memorial will be built and erected near the harbourside cycling and walking path. The move follows community concern about the cost of repairing and maintaining the existing structure. It also presents visibility problems for road users. The new memorial will be designed before the arch is removed. A new digital space at the city's main library is helping the public to permanently preserve content. It's the result of a partnership between the City Council and the local Lebanese community, which is seeking to create a lasting legacy. But the new centre and accompanying archive is set to be an asset for the entire community.
Preserving the past in a modern way. A new digitisation centre and archive is now open to the public at the Central Dunedin Public Library. The project is the result of a $65,000 donation from the Cedars of Lebanon Club, which has been investing in legacy projects for more than 10 years.
Another part of the footprint was talking to the city librarian, Bernie Hawke. I said to him we wanted to have something that was visible and enduring for the club, and he came up with this idea, and that's how it was born.
Joseph says members of the local Lebanese community have been gathering and recording their history for years with the intention of making information permanently available. With their culture almost fully integrated, he says it's essential to have a permanent record of the past.
With the geographical spread that's occurred over the years and the passing of our people, our community is far less defined and structured than it was in years gone by. So if our generation doesn't preserve the history now, my fear is that it'll be lost forever.
He's hoping a range of other groups and ethnic communities will make use of the centre, preserving their own local history in perpetuity. A newly launched digital archive is also part of the space, allowing the public to search what's been uploaded by groups as well as the library itself.
It's there to collect the stories and histories of Dunedin individuals and groups, and so that's really the community engagement side of it, but it's also a resource for us to embed our digitised heritage collections.
Members of the public can help to digitise several thousand index records covering content from as far back as the 1850s. It's a huge project that staff envisage will take many years, but with the new centre, they're off to a good start. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
A resident has had their ADHD medication stolen from their house, and police are appealing to the public for information. Officers say the prescription drug Rubifen was taken from a Russell Street home when it was burgled in the last few days. A cell phone, television, PlayStation and games were also stolen, and thieves took a car stereo from the occupant's vehicle. Police are asking people with information about the case to come forward. There have been several other thefts this week, including that of a car and trailer. The City Council report into the university's Orientation Week reveals this year's number of noise complaints was the highest ever recorded. The report was undertaken to look at how agencies managed and responded during the tertiary festivities. And now council staff are focusing on future events.
Making noise over an ongoing issue. A report presented to the City Council is outlining authorities' management and response during this year's student orientation. Noise control was featured in the document, which states it's been the worst year yet for associated complaints.
We outlined the number of noise complaints through January and February and March and looked at the comparisons for the past 3 years, and it showed that we are seeing a steady increase each year during orientation for noise complaints.
There were more than 1,300 noise complaints made between January and March. That's nearly 200 more than during the same time last year. The majority of offences related to loud music and people outside properties in North Dunedin, but cases of repeat offences and sound system seizures are down.
We will attend, and if the officer warns them at that point, they will advise them at the same time to reduce the noise and also advise them of the cost in relation to if they have to come back and seize equipment. And I think we've had some success in people taking that on board and deciding that it's a good idea not to re-offend.
Council staff say it's not all the fault of students, with perpetrators including visitors and other residents. The report found official events were well run, but problems related to behaviour at private properties. Now the council's looking to decrease noise complaints in future.
What we did this year, and I think we'd like to continue it, and perhaps to start the plan a little bit earlier, is to inform the landlords and the property owners of known premises that are becoming party houses. And it's not just in the student area, we're seeing it across Dunedin as well.
The council's planning on advertising the importance of reasonable noise levels through university outlets like Radio 1 and The Critic. Annabelle Dick, 39, Dunedin News.
Still to come on 39 Dunedin News, the therapeutic pool suffers yet another setback, and an old-fashioned accessory makes a welcome return to the city.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell menswear, it fits.
It's on again. The Star Regent 24-hour book sale starts noon 10th June. Don't miss out!
Tu vas voir Marjolaine et le maquillage. D'accord. Okay.
For professional, reliable and approachable service where your dream kitchen design can become an affordable reality, Contact the team at Kitchens for Less. Call 455 9973 or visit us online. New Zealand Beeswax Limited are the quintessential beeswax, woodware and beekeeping suppliers. From the amateur beekeeper to the commercial operator, New Zealand Beeswax Limited has the quantity to meet your needs. For great prices, great service New Zealand-wide, contact New Zealand Beeswax Limited on 03 693 9189 or visit www.beeswax.co.nz.
Garage Dunedin, delivering quality stylish garage doors in Dunedin for over 15 years. New doors, replacement doors, repairs and maintenance are all part of Garage quality service. Garage Dunedin offers a full range of modern quality doors to suit any home. Come visit the team at 553 Kaikoura Valley Road. Visit www.garador.co.nz or call us on 488 5676.
Mobility Scooters Otago. Mobility Scooters, new and used, electric manual wheelchairs, strollers and walkers. Free home demonstration and delivery. Call Tony on 03 455 2875 or visit our showroom, 211 King Edward Street, opposite Westpac.
Here's something else to look forward to sinking your teeth into every weekend with the Otago Daily Times, the Weekend Mix, your guide to what's hot in fashion, entertainment, food and more. New weekend magazine in your ODT. Pick up your copy this Saturday.
Welcome back. The country's annual trade balance has reached a significant low with a March deficit of $3.8 billion. That's the largest yearly trade shortfall since April 2009. It's a result of falling values for primary produce exports like milk powder, beef and lamb. In the last quarter, the seasonally adjusted value of exported goods dropped $145 million. It was down by a whopping 17%, while dairy products fell 6.4%. And on that note, let's take a look at today's financials. The NZX 50 has closed the day down 45 points, it's now at 6,750. The FTSE is up 24 points. To the exchange rates, the Kiwi dollar is up against the Australian, but we are down against the other currencies we follow. There's mounting frustration over the government's involvement in the city's only physiotherapy pool, which urgently needs upgrading. The Ministry of Health is stalling the project in case the pool's affected by a bigger Dunedin hospital upgrade. Otago Therapeutic Pool Trust Secretary Treasurer Neville Martin is here to explain. Good evening, Neville.
Good evening, Rebecca.
What are the Trust's plans for upgrading the pool?
Well, there are a lot of works needed for that physio pool building. Essentially, the roof needs repaired, the window frames need repaired, reglazed, the pool needs retiled, there is need for a pool cover to save operating costs for heating. There is a water treatment facility that needs to be upgraded, and we're hoping to install a heat recovery system.
Now, how much money have you raised for all of those things?
We've raised $1 million, principally through grants from funding organisations.
And when was the upgrade supposed to begin?
It was supposed to begin at the beginning of this year, provided we obtained a long-term lease from the SDHB.
So what have they said about the lease at this stage?
Well, negotiations haven't concluded on the long-term lease, and we understand now that it's the Ministry of Health which is involved in this process, principally because of the hospital redevelopment plan.
So what do they think might happen if they won't give you a lease?
Well, we're confident that we will get a lease. It's just a case of the detail of that lease. Okay. It's important for the Trust that it has a long-term lease to justify spending $1 million on upgrades to the pool. There is no use to the Trust if there's a termination clause in such a lease, as it would undermine the value of it.
Has the Ministry proposed anything at this stage?
Well, our communication is principally through the SDHB, and we understand that there is talk of a termination clause in such a lease, but that would be of no use to the Trust. It's important that the overall development of the hospital is carried through, but the Trust would seek an indication or some assurance from the Ministry that the pool site would be unaffected.
What is the next step?
Well, the Trust will continue to engage with the SDHB about negotiating a long-term lease and obtaining a commitment from the Ministry that the pool site would be unaffected by the redevelopment of the Dunedin Public Hospital.
What's your thought on how long things might take to get resolved?
Well, we need things to be resolved sooner rather than later. We certainly can't wait to mid next year for a decision, so that in the meantime we must engage with the SDHB about that process, otherwise the infrastructure of that pool will continue to deteriorate.
In the meantime, it's business as usual at the pool?
It is. The pool is open to the public every day, and it's important that the public gets behind this pool as a community facility by using it and continuing to donate money to cover operating costs.
Has the Trust drawn a line in the sand in regards to a date where the pool may have to be closed because it becomes unsafe?
No, we haven't gone down that path. We're confident that the pool is okay at the moment, and it will be for a period of time, but we're keen to carry out the upgrade and to ensure its safety and longevity.
Is the Ministry and the Health Board forthcoming with information about this?
Well, we're engaging with the SDHB. We don't engage directly with the Ministry.
Okay. What would you like to see happen now? Ideal world.
Well, ideally we need a commitment from the SDHB that we have a long-term lease, and that would involve probably a commitment from the Ministry that one would be available without a termination clause.
Otago Therapeutic Pool Trust Secretary Treasurer Neville Martin, good luck with that. We have our fingers crossed with you. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks, Rebecca.
After the break on 39 Dunedin News, a muff made from penguin skin returns to the city where it was made over 100 years ago. And we're on the streets to get your thoughts on the relevance of Anzac Day.
Sir Bob Charles, New Zealand's greatest golfer and still going strong.
I'm sure that Sportsville was a contributing factor to my success, and I'll continue to use it.
Sir Bob Charles Sportsville, a product so good he puts his name to it.
Well, I believe Sportsville helps maintain your quality of life.
Now being used by active men and women globally to support strength and mobility.
It works for me.
Sir Bob Charles Sportsville in the new all-black pack. Call now for the Sportsville special, 0800 502 402.
Mobility Scooters Otago. Mobility Scooters, new and used, electric manual wheelchairs, strollers and walkers. Free home demonstration and delivery. Call Tony on 03 455 2875 or visit our showroom, 211 King Edward Street, opposite Westpac.
Tech Limited have been supplying beekeeping equipment and honey products in New Zealand for over 100 years. A specialist manufacturer of hiveware and plastic products for the beekeeping industry. They are the leading supplier of beekeeping equipment nationwide. For all your beekeeping needs, visit ecrotech.co.nz or call 0800 117766.
Finding that your grass seed just won't grow? Ready Lawn has the perfect solution for all those lawn woes. Call Ready Lawn today on 486 1819.
Oui, tu vas voir Marjolaine et le maquillage. D'accord, ok.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Tune in on Thursday for Motorsport Night on Dunedin Television.
Welcome back. A penguin skin muff made in Dunedin over 130 years ago has been returned to the city after a lifetime abroad. The fashion accessory has been donated to Otago Museum by the family of its original owner, who purchased it in the 1870s. And the local story behind it is piquing the interest of museum staff.
A unique fashion accessory more than a century old. This muff, made from the skin of a king penguin, is back in the city it was made, with a new home at Otago Museum. While the piece has had a well-travelled life, its former owners decided Dunedin was its ideal final resting place.
It was donated by great-granddaughters of its original owner, who live in Canada, but it was purchased here in Dunedin from a shop called J. Constantine in probably the early 1870s. It then went to Australia with a family member, and it ended up in Canada.
In the past, a muff was typically made from fur or another warm textile with both ends open for keeping hands warm. Malthus says this donation is particularly beneficial for museum staff, as it's come with its original packaging. That allows them to verify its origin and find out more about its long history.
Furriers and people didn't necessarily label the artefacts themselves, so to have the packaging that shows which firm it came from, in this case J. Constantine, who was a furrier on George Street. He was in the Octagon at one stage and then he moved into George Street, or vice versa.
Staff are currently researching how common penguin muffs were in the past, aided by another king penguin piece they also have in their collection. At this stage, there are no firm display plans, but Malthus says the new piece would fit in with several displays.
It'll probably go into storage straight off, but it'll come out for various stories, I imagine. I mean, it would tell stories in natural sciences along with other penguin stories, perhaps, or it would tell fashion stories. It can be used in a variety of ways.
Malthus says while she's familiar with several other past Dunedin furriers, she hadn't heard of James Constantine until the muff was donated. She's now going through old papers to find out more about the business and believes there's plenty more information to uncover. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
More than 10,000 people attended Anzac Day services in the city on Monday. This year marks the 100th anniversaries of formal Anzac commemorations and the Royal New Zealand Returned and Services Association. Our Word on the Street team asked members of the public if they think Anzac Day is still relevant.
I think it's more relevant now than it's ever been, you know. Yeah, and it's just to get the young people into it, and the sacrifices that were made by the old soldiers, and yeah, it is relevant.
Yes, I do think it's still relevant, and just to celebrate the sacrifice people made years ago. Society has changed a bit, so that doesn't happen anymore for New Zealand, but to remember that it did happen once upon a time.
It's important to keep in mind what's happened in the past, because history tends to repeat itself, and I think there are a lot of lessons in history that we need to remember.
Our granddaughter had just been to Gallipoli and she was so impressed with it, and it was so nice to find that her generation are very interested.
Yes, it's still relevant. Even though we shouldn't be celebrating war, we should be commemorating all the people that died for their countries.
I do, because I think it remembers those who went to Gallipoli and to the other wars since. It remembers those who never came home.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, when I went to one of the services, there's still plenty of people there, so I think it's important to remember the sacrifices that have made for our freedom.
It's still relative in terms of our sense of our place in the world, and to remember the suffering and the bravery.
And now recapping tonight's top stories on 39 Dunedin News. SDHB staff are waiting for approval from the government for an $11 million upgrade of the intensive care unit. The local Lebanese community is launching a new public archive at the Central City Library, set to benefit all residents. And a City Council report into this year's student orientation reveals the number of noise complaints was the highest ever recorded. Well, it's time now to find out what's going to be in Thursday's Otago Daily Times, and Phil Somerville joins us. Good evening.
Yes, hi Rebecca. Council news first. The landfill, the emissions trading scheme, once those charges come on, is fear that that will increase the cost of taking rubbish and refuse by perhaps 20%, so it's already costs a lot already, so we'll watch that space with some interest. There was a cruise ship debrief in town today after the hugely successful season, but there are some issues. People are wanting more attractions like zodiacs or kayaks on the harbour. Bus congestion can be a problem, and it's only going to get worse as the cruise ships get bigger, and one or two other issues came up as well. We have a lovely page of autumn pictures from Central Otago. Stephen Jackery was up there today, and an embroidered bookmark that was lost on the London Underground has been found and returned home. It's a lovely story. And tonight, another positive thing, the Dunedin Trustpower Community Awards, they're presented tonight, so lots of worthy winners there, no doubt.
Lovely, that's tomorrow's ODT. Thanks, Phil. Time now for local weather.
This 39 Dunedin News weather update proudly brought to you in association with Silverhorn's Emu Oil.
And here is our city view, as taken of the harbour from Ravensbourne. Around the city at 3 o'clock today, 16 degrees for the central city, 17 at the Gardens, 22 for the Tyree. To the situation, and the southwest flow will ease this week as an anticyclone approaches from the Tasman Sea. Well, to the forecast for some of the main towns on the lower South Island for tomorrow. Westerlies with some cloud for Invercargill and Te Anau, and fine weather awaits Gore and Alexandra. And it's a fine one as well for Queenstown, Oamaru, Wanaka and Twizel, highs of between 16 and 18 degrees. And Dunedin tonight remaining fine with a low of 5. Tomorrow sunny periods and light nor'easters with 16 degrees, and on Friday sunny with nor'westers developing and a high of 19. And to the Otago Pallet Fires tidal and fishing information. High tide tomorrow morning is at 6 minutes to 8. Low tide follows at 14 minutes to 3. And fishing conditions look good tomorrow evening at 5:15. And that's all from the team here at 39 Dunedin News for Wednesday. See you again tomorrow. Good night.
This 39 Dunedin News Bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.